Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have Dr. Steele from Cisco ISD. Dr. Steele, thank you for joining us today.
Gary, appreciate you being here. Appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. And just so our listeners get to know you a little bit, could you share some of your background and maybe some information about the district, size, location, that sort of thing?
Sure. I'm in my 25th year in education. I started off as a special education teacher in Coppers Cove. I worked my way over to Belton, which is a great school district. Every place I've ever been, I've really enjoyed. Belton was a great school district. I've been the superintendent here in Cisco for the last 8 years. And so I had several stops along the way. Went to Belton ISD, went to Westphalia, which is a little K through 8 district. I was a superintendent and principal there. I went to Royal ISD, which is Region 4 near Houston, was a deputy superintendent there for 5 years before coming to Cisco. And Cisco is a 2A school district. We got 860 kids in the district, 240 at the high school. And it's just a great little place to be. I went to Abilene Christian University, graduated there. And so I had a lot of friends that grew up in this area, grew up in the big country, grew up in Hamlin and Anson and Albany. And so I knew Cisco had good people. And so I was able to apply and fortunately got the job. And it was really a blessing. I didn't realize what a good school district Cisco has been, and it's been my job for the last 8 years not to screw it up.
Awesome. And it's always fun to interview some of the smaller districts because oftentimes it seems like they're overlooked, but in reality, there's some really innovative and forward-thinking things that happen at some of these smaller districts. It almost seems like they can move faster in some cases and be ahead of the curve in some areas. So, but curious, every district is focused on different things. We do see patterns, we see trends kind of focused on, and it seems like every few months, that pivots a little bit. What's kind of your passion or focus at this current moment when it relates to public education or your district?
Well, I really think it's just protecting and defending public education. I think we are under attack. We're under attack from folks down in Austin. We're under attack from national news media. I hate the fact that nowadays teachers are they're viewed with a side eye, right? So there's so many accusations about inappropriate behavior and stuff the teachers are doing. We're predators, or we're trying to transition kids and all that. We're not talking teaching American values. That is not true. That's not true here in Cisco. That's not true in any of the places that I've been. Um, and so, I spend a lot of time focusing my effort and energy doing things like this, just building education, being positive about it, because it is the foundation to many of these small towns and many of these small communities. And so I love coming on things like this and just being able to talk about education and all the good things we're doing. The voucher program is now going. They're accepting applications. They're accepting applications for the next few weeks. I saw a list of schools that are eligible to receive voucher programs, and one of them was is a sports academy. It is down in the Austin area. It's a sports academy that they advertise 2 hours of classroom instruction, and the rest of the time, you're getting sports education. You're working on your sports. They're going to teach you about how to maximize your NIL deal and things like that. Which, I'm as big a sports advocate as anybody. I'm as big as extracurricular advocate as anybody. But that's not our purpose. At the end of the day, Cisco ISD it exists to teach kids. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to focus on. And there's so many great things that extracurricular does as well. But we need to teach kids. And if we're giving $10,000 for a parent to send their kid to some sports academy that's going to spend 2 hours teaching and 6 hours, on the athletic fields, that's not right. And that's that threat that we face. And I'm trying to fight it every step I can.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's understandable, it's interesting, and it's also a little bit unfortunate that public education can be put in a box like that, like where people just think, okay, this is all. I mean, obviously, we see it on the news occasionally. You'll see a bad actor, but you see it in all industries, right? I think our listeners, if they were to really think back in their career, if they've been in, some sort of career for a while, they can think about an employee that they worked with at some point that probably had done something they shouldn't have done for whatever it may be. Um, and when you think of public education, how many teachers would you say are there in public education? Like any ballpark
I think the last time I looked at statistics, there's like 800,000 teachers in the state of Texas. I
in
don't hold
Texas?
me to that number, but I think that's about how many teachers we have in the state of Texas.
So if you look across the US, it's probably at least what, 3 million
Oh,
plus?
yeah, I'd say 6 to 7 million if you're talking about all 50 states.
Yeah, wow, 6 to 7 million. So you take 6 to 7 million people, right? I think Houston, I'm in Houston. I think there's like 3 million people in Houston, right? Um, there's gonna be a situation, like there's going to be somebody that makes a very bad decision out of all those people. And it's unfortunate that that person will will be the representative for all of public education.
Well,
Oh, this person did this. That must mean all of, and I don't know why it got that way. But what I will say, when we interview different superintendents, and we've interviewed other, we've interviewed teachers, we've interviewed it's mostly been superintendents and some board members. It's we're dealing with people. It's people. That's what it is.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to. I never. No person ever wants to be judged at their worst moment, right? I
Yeah.
never want to be judged for that 30-second argument that I have with the umpire at the softball game because I don't like the call, right? I don't want to be judged by, the bad behavior, the thing that I said that I shouldn't have said, that I knew I shouldn't have said, but I said it anyway because my emotions. But that's unfortunately what happens a lot of times. And as educators, we're getting judged by not the best educators, right? I got a lot of great educators that give their heart and soul and are great people, moral people, do all that kind of stuff. Those aren't the ones we're being judged by. Being judged by these fringe elements that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And I think it's purposeful. I think it's intentional. I think news organizations use it for clickbait. I think people that are anti-public education that have money and vouchers and want to make their money doing that way use those poor examples and try to paint everybody that way. And that's not how it should be.
Yeah, and technically you could do it with anything, right? You could find any tight-knit organization or, a very visible organization and judge them by the weakest link, by that one person that got hired or I mean, it's just it's people, right? So it's out of 10 million people across the US or however many there are, there's going to be somebody, and you're right, there's people that profit off of that, whether that be news agencies or whatever, because they're not going to go share the story about how great somebody, oh, their academics exceeded state levels or
That's right.
their football team won the state championship. You don't see stuff like that in the news. It's all
If it
it's all
bleeds, it leads, as they say.
exactly, and then it's partial truths a lot of times, and then they spin it, and so it's unfortunate, but thankfully on our guest on the podcast, we're able to highlight some of the great things that are happening, and so we got that on. So you're coming on the podcast, spreading the good word, which I think is the right approach because some districts they see this stuff that's going on out there and they're like, look. I'm not going to give these guys that are looking for problems any ammunition or whatever to go after. But then there's other people that have the mindset of like, look, let me go out there and share what we're doing so you know the truth. And so I'm always appreciative of districts that come on the podcast to really share. Hey, look, I got nothing to hide. Here's what we have going on. Um, and so that I think that's a much more courageous and noble approach than just you being afraid of the people that are out there trying to paint a bad picture for public education. So, um, well, let's talk about your district a little bit. What's some of the highlights in the district and the vision of the district that you have going on?
I think right now, we're in a busy time of the year. We got track going on. We had a track hosted a track meet last night. We hosted junior high track meet. We got softball. We got baseball. We got ag going to all their LDE events. So spring is a busy time. We just got off spring break, and of course we got to prepare for the test. So we've got all these things going on. This is really the crux of the school year right here. These next 3 weeks, this next month between spring break and the testing season and when that starts. So we've got a lot of stuff going on like that. Anybody that knows Cisco ISD knows that we're salty. We're salty on the athletic field. We've got a really competitive football team. Our girls program is rolling right along. We expect excellence in all those things, and we expect excellence in the classroom. So our focus right now is just to get through the next next month and a half to get to the summer. Long term, I'd say longer term is we're in the Abilene area in the big country. Many of y'all know that there's lots of AI facilities coming in. We've got lots of windmill farms and solar farms, and we are trying to decide as I'm trying to decide as a superintendent, as our school board is trying to decide as a school board of how do we take advantage of this? How do we benefit the students of Cisco ISD not only in the immediate but in the long term? Like, what do we need to do to make sure that our kids can fill these jobs? These AI data centers that are coming in, these micro nuclear facilities that are coming in, all these things that are coming in. We need to supply these these jobs with workers, with skilled laborers that can fill those positions. So we're going to try to take advantage of it on the building side and use some of that kind of stuff. But we also need to have them employees that long term that'll keep them here. Again, I don't know how many of these AI facilities are going to have long term employment. Some of the windmills are great for the year and a half they have employees coming in and working and put them up, but then after they're up, there's not many jobs that just maintaining them. It's I don't know how the AI works as far as that's concerned, but we want to make sure that they've got a population of students and young workers that are graduating that can fill the needs for those to keep them here. Because I do think it's great for our economy. I do think it's great for the big country, the state of Texas, that we're so innovative and we're leading edge as far as all the energy and AI stuff. So I want to keep those jobs here, and we need to make sure we're teaching our kids to be those skilled employees that they need.
Wow. Yeah. What a great opportunity for students to learn green energy plus AI, right? It's even if it's short-lived, even if the windmill, at least they learn how it all goes together. And there's got to be so much learning there that can be applied down the road. And then with AI, we're just getting started there. I heard a quote the other day, and it said, "Right now, AI is the worst that it's ever gonna be."
Yep.
So it's
Yeah, we don't even know how to use it. Like I'm an old man at this point as far as AI is concerned. I use it basically as Google. Hey, help me type up this response to this Public Information Act request that I've got. Help me do this, help me do that. I haven't even touched the surface of it, and that's things that we need to teach our kids how to use AI. Again, it's not just an advanced search engine that'll find the answers for you, as opposed to you having to click on the links. It can do so much for you, and I don't know yet how to take advantage of that, but that's something we need to learn and we need to be able to teach our kids.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something that I'm passionate about. I actually spend a lot of time kind of, doing some continuous learning, and been studying AI lately, to a certain extent. And it's just interesting how much more productive it can make people. People get scared of it, saying, "Oh, it's going to take my job." Uh, in some cases, it may help you get tasks done faster and better to where you can focus on bigger things. And so it's kind of interesting when it comes to kind of repetitive tasks and then of course if it can make an organization more productive, well, who does that help? Well, it helps everyone, helps the community, helps the customers, helps and then of course it helps the employees because uh, from a cost structure standpoint, a lot of times, there maybe there's more resources available to do bigger things, depending on the productivity level of the organization. So kind of interesting how that's going to evolve. Uh, kind of like Google. Well, I guess when Google first came out, people were. I mean, if you look back at different technology over the years, every when it first comes out, oh no, the television set. Oh no, what are we going to do? Television's replacing radio. It's going to, yeah. I was looking at some news articles a while back talking about stuff like that, and yeah, and then Google, and it's like, well, it kind of helped us in some ways. But it's a tool, right? You could use it in ways that are helpful or not helpful. But well, very good. So I know we're running short on time. Any thoughts for either other superintendents or community members or anybody that may be listening? Any last thoughts before we close out the podcast?
Again, I agreed to come on this because I'm an advocate for public education. And I think it's our responsibility as public educators to make sure we're telling the good stories. You know, small community. I know a lot of the families here. Know a lot of the people, but I go to everything because I want them to see me there, and I want to be able to have those conversations and talk to the parents and things like that. So if you're an educator, if you're a community member that's at the little league games on a weekend or during the week or you're at a track meet on a Thursday or Friday, sell public education because we need it. And I refuse to believe the rhetoric out there that public education is damaging America. I think America gets great again. America's great, make America great again by making public education great again, because the private schools, the vouchers, they're only going to take a certain percentage of kids. They're not going to take anybody that they don't want to take. Public education takes everybody. So be an advocate for those kids and be an advocate for public education because that at the end of the day is what's going to make America great again.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think there's been a mindset for a while of when somebody says something negative, you just don't say anything. Like, oh, but I think it's time for now people to say something. If if somebody has something negative to say and you don't agree with it, and there's something great going on in public education, share that. Share, hey, actually, this just happened at the district, and I'm pretty proud of it. And yes, I think that's a great point. That there's a I like to think that there's a silent majority out there of people that have a lot of good things to share. So yeah, definitely. It's gonna take a little courage, but yeah, don't be afraid to share it for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I appreciate you being on, Dr. Steele. Come on anytime. I know in the next few months, at least from what I've seen with public education, with all the interviews we've done over the past, few years or so, um, that things change, right? You got different topics, different things, different administration, different policies, different, needs in schools. So feel free to reach out anytime and come on in anytime in the future. And before we close out, excuse me, we do want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education. If you need funds for higher teacher salaries, if you need funds for other initiatives in your district, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.
Well, Gary, thank you very much for having me on.